This isn't a story about a hero. It's a story about a tired man, working a night shift, who didn't want to be wrong, and accidentally saved the world because of it. Stanislav Petrov wasn't a soldier by nature. He was an engineer who happened to wear a uniform. Colleagues described him as careful, a little stubborn, the kind of man who trusted data, but trusted his own judgment more. He had a wife, Raisa, and 2 children. Like thousands of Soviet officers, he split his life between long shifts in a windowless bunker and an ordinary apartment where none of his neighbors knew what he actually did for a living. On the night of September 26, 1983, Petrov wasn't even supposed to be on duty. He was covering for a colleague. Just after midnight, the room exploded into red light and sirens. The screen read, "One launch detected, United States." Then 4 more. Around him, junior officers froze. Some started to panic. The system was telling him, with the highest confidence rating it had, that nuclear missiles were already in the air, and that in about 20 minutes they would hit Soviet soil. Petrov later said his legs went weak. He felt like he was sitting on a hot frying pan. Every instinct in the room was screaming to follow protocol. Call it in, let the generals decide, let the missiles fly. But something in his gut wouldn't let him pick up that phone with certainty. A real American first strike, he reasoned, wouldn't be 5 missiles. It would be hundreds, maybe 1,000. This didn't look like a war. It looked like a glitch, and he had no way to prove it. Only 15 minutes, a gut feeling, and the knowledge that if he was wrong, it wouldn't matter anymore anyway. He picked up the phone and told his superiors it was a false alarm. Not because he knew for certain, because he chose to bet the world on his own reasoning instead of a machine's. He was right. Sunlight bouncing off high clouds had fooled the satellite into seeing missiles that didn't exist. But there was no parade, no medal. The military investigated him, not for saving lives, but for the paperwork he never finished that night. He was quietly reassigned, and soon after, left the army altogether under the strain of it. For the next decade, almost no one knew his name. He lived simply, lost his wife Raisa to cancer years later, and rarely spoke about that night, even to people close to him. It wasn't until the late 1990s, when a former commander wrote about it in his memoirs, that the world found out what had almost happened and who had stopped it. Decades after that quiet decision, Petrov was finally invited abroad, honored at the United Nations, and given peace prizes by people half a world away. He always seemed a little uncomfortable with the attention. When asked if he felt like a hero, he simply said, "I was just doing my job." Stanislav Petrov died in 2017, in the same quiet way he'd lived, at home, mostly unnoticed by the world he'd saved. No statue marks the bunker where he sat that night. Just a man, a gut feeling, and 15 minutes that never made the history books most of us read.